my nemesis that year. You remember that year. Yeah, and he even pointed it. He was social enough to point the antenna some other way or try to move it. But anyways, we really did, and that's why we also use diesel, right? So the benefit of diesel was less ignition noise and stuff like that. So that's why we moved away from gasoline. That's why, you know, when you told me that you had a generator, and I said, yeah, thank you very much, but I was going to try to keep diesel. There was a lot of people saying, well, how do you know you have enough cord? Well, I know Brian McCoy. He has so much cord stashed away in his house. It's piled this high and about this wide, and if Brian couldn't get you a cable there, you weren't worth getting cable to. Yeah, that's the benefit of it, is that you got some really nice egg roll, French fry smell. I think John's was running regular diesel, right? So John ran the good stuff. Brian ran the, what did you call it? I know biodiesel, but Mike called it something else. Coffee beans? No, I can't remember, but butternut. He called it butternut. He called your diesel butternut. I don't know. Butternut coffee kind of turns me off because I think of it's just lawnmower grass clippings. But anyways, that's what people think. I think it was really good. I mean, in the sense of the technical issue, I think having a large area, Clark Park, was a good thing. I mean, that cut down on intermod. I think the loops work. I think the loops were a good thing. I mean, there was a number of people. I know Dave commented about his loop, his MFJ loop. I know Joe liked his MFJ loop. I don't know, Jeff, not so positive on the loop. Well, one thing that was interesting about Mike Zato, talked to me, and I was talking to him out the field, right? And he said, you know, it kind of drifts. And I said, yeah, you know, and so he kind of measured the drift against the temperature of the day. And so he realized that as it was getting hot, something was causing it to drift. And then at night, when he was operating, it was rock solid. He said he didn't have to touch that thing for 2 or 3 hours. So he had thermal issues related to the loop. And now the loops in general cost us about, I'm going to say, less than $15 to make per loop. And we did make a good number of contacts. Now, how would that have compared to dipoles and things like that? I don't know. But at the same time, I think what did help us, I didn't see anybody's radios get damaged this year. I didn't hear anybody's MFJ antenna analyzers get damaged. I think the distance, the loops and all that sort of stuff kind of helped. So we had variety of polarization of antennas and takeoff angles and stuff like that, and I think that helped us. So the loops, I don't know, for the people that were on the loops, I mean, I know that we had East and West Coast, right?
Yeah, so I've got a data point. It may be scientific, maybe not.
Here, you want to?
Sure. It was a drift,
the capacitor. Our aluminum loops.
Yeah, mine was one of the aluminum loops on 15 meters. And when I got it to my location, I definitely needed some adjustment because the SWR on my radio was about 3.5. And the tuner did just nicely to balance the line out to it. But obviously, you guys know what that does to line loss. Tim Snodgrass had actually stopped by because he was curious about some of the interference I was getting from Charlie's digital station.
It wasn't me.
It wasn't you?
No, it was the phone station.
Well, the phone station, I could hear the phone station. And,
so you said it was about 3.5 Bismarck?
Yeah. Yeah.
So was where it was resonant, was it up higher in the phone band?
I didn't measure. I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell.
That's why I was getting into you for that.
But on the 15-meter phone, Tim and I actually did some experimenting, and we got a little bit of stuff here. So S9 on my radio is right around 50 microvolts. And so I could tune with all the losses I had. I could tune directly on your signal. I could hear you pretty clearly. And the reading on it, with the way the antenna was pointed, was S9 plus 10. And I had an 18 dB attenuator in front of all that. So when you do the calculation, look on the book, it basically says that I was receiving about 1.6 millivolts off of your radio. So that was pretty strong. Tim turned that antenna to where the node would be pointing your way and knocked off 10 dB off the meter. So I was reading, instead of S9 plus 10, I was reading S9. And so with the 18 dB pad, that knocked it down to 400 microvolts. So I don't know what you could do with those figures, but that's what I got by using that antenna. So it does help.
Right. So, I mean, I think Jeff was the one that suffered the most at the field day from the loop, but he overcame the adversity of the operating position and the loop, and I think he did pretty good. I mean, CW did really well. 40 meter CW did really well. Jim was really happy. I do have some notes from Jim here, but I don't have the time to pull it up, but he did send me some lessons learned. So anyways, let's go on. So we did 19A. The way that I calculated 19A was I had 2 meter and 70 centimeter phone. Those people that were supposed to be walking around listening to those stations, I actually made 2 contacts on both of those. So that was one of the ways that we calculated 19A, plus the 10 gig station. So we didn't take a hit for 6 meters. I think we took 6 meters on the 19A, and then I think we took the SATs as the free station. So that's how we got to 19A. Okay? This was our plan. Rod Bloxham helped us develop the plan. As you can see, we put all the, naturally you put the 80 meters out as far as you can from each other. Then you start working 40 meters out far as you can from each other, and then 20. And so, the thing that really all of us, in this planning stage is, Rod was saying, yeah, 18 acres, that's a lot of space. That's a 1,000-foot circle. That's a big area, and so the host, I always thought field day locations were kind of like, Regis at the top of the hill there, you're pretty tight. Out at the farm, we're pretty tight. I saw somebody do it in their garage with their antenna in their driveway, that's pretty tight, So you get a lot of room, to sprawl out, but that means if you really want to use that much space, you gotta really kind of put that space to use, and it's a difficult, I think was even difficult for us to put that space to use. I think it, would have been nicer if we were closer together, but we tried to follow the rules of the road and put out as much distance as we could. Naturally, we didn't put the generators anywhere close to where we thought we would put them, but we got power to everybody that wanted power. I don't know if anybody had any comments about how we did the layout, but Rod and I worked on this. We went out. The other thing is that I worked with Phil and Ken and Dan here they went out and pre-staked the field, and what they did is they basically took the center point and tried to make sure that that their objective as field czars was to make sure that nobody set up outside the circle, so we're completely legal in the 1,000-foot circle. And that's what we did. They didn't really kind of direct exactly from their markers. We could figure out kind of where the stations should be, So I know it was arduous on their part, but it was very helpful for us that we stayed legal in the 1,000-foot circle. And that's how we did it. Okay, next slide. This is a Tim flyby. I don't know if Tim did a flyby that day. I don't know if you guys knew that, but he went and took some gal from
some staffer for the senator or for the congressman.
Yeah, Blum.
Yeah, for Rod Blum's office came, and she went up, and boy, the PR, we had great PR that day. So she's up in the plane with Tim, and they're taking this picture. I knew Tim was doing it, but I didn't hear any airplane buzzing around or anything like that, but it's a beautiful shot of the field and, the antenna, the SATs and the CW station and the pavilion and the fire truck. Certainly we had people come just because they saw the fire truck. I had a person say, hey, what's going on over here? You got a fire truck with a flag on it. And so this is ham radio day. What is ham radio? So I took them in and showed them the pavilion. I don't even know who they were. There were some, and then there were some kids playing on the, families came to play in the play set. We kept the play set open. People came and even parked, I think, even from, wanted to go to AirFX. There's people that came. So it was a great location to draw people. It wasn't out in the middle of nowhere. How many of you, okay, I needed coffee. And I knew that Dunkin' Donuts was only 2 or 3 minutes away. I slipped away. I must confess my sin to you. As the chief field day leader, I failed you. I left the field. I did not delegate my authority to anybody, but I left and I went and got coffee. Next slide. So promotion was a big hit. I mean, this is the staffer. Rod Bloxham was meeting with the staff. I got a picture of them shaking hands and stuff like that. We had the governor's proclamation. Can you think of all this? I mean, it's just incredible, all the stuff that we got for promotion. Okay, we did shack tours that day. I mean, there was a lot of stuff going on that weekend. And so it was a busy, busy weekend. Next slide. Here's some pictures of Go to Station. You were operating it quite a bit, helping people. Yeah, and so this guy and his son, he works in my department. I didn't even know he was interested in ham radio, but he came. Who is that? Do you remember?
He was the son of somebody who works at college.
Right.
He made half a dozen contacts.
Right. So we did introduce, I mean, I'll be honest, there was probably a lot of kids there, and we did do a lot of kids through the station.
If we were to do this again, I have a suggestion. We need a host or a couple of hosts when people walk in who basically, said, hey, here's what's going on, and here's the tour. I know some of you guys were trying to do that, but it wasn't, at times it wasn't enough.
Yeah. Well, I also know that we made a conscious decision to make the Go to Station in the pavilion. I know it would be noisy. I knew that we would shut down sometimes when we had our social events. We made a conscious decision because we wanted that to be the hub. And we wanted it to be the hub because we wanted people to be able to help. So, okay, next slide. Tim put together a lot of promotion material, the slides. We had people brought in some other things to show. John LeClaire brought in his old QSTs. I tried to give away quite a few of them. I don't know if I was successful, but anyways, we had a lot of stuff there. Keep going. Oh man, our portable tower was definitely a promotional item because it did draw people in. It was not just a portable antenna to us, it was actually a magnet to draw people to the site. So that was a wonderful idea. I don't know, Dan had a great idea, and I think it was one of those pieces de resistance that I'll remember forever, that we did a field day with a fire truck. So you can put that in your logbook. We did a field day with a fire truck. Okay, keep going. Yeah. Well, these are my favorite 3 pictures. I think this was what makes field day field day. If there's anything you want to get away from, the whole presentation, all the other stuff doesn't really matter, but this slide matters the most. These are 3 new hams, never operated before in their entire life, okay? So I'm sitting down at my 20-meter station, and Jeff is sitting here. They both have headphones on, and Jeff is giving this guy training about how to do it, he knows how to use my radio. Sorry, Jeff. You know how to use my radio better than I even know how to use my radio. Joe's old radio, my new radio, but Jeff knows how to use it better than I do, and he's teaching this fellow. I don't remember his name right now, but he came back and he wanted to operate really badly. His wife came. They showed up. I have a thing here, a video. I didn't have it in this thing, but Jeff is telling him, it says, well, somebody wanted to jump in and call our call sign, right? He wanted to call W0GQ, and Jeff says, don't take the bait. you know, it wasn't our calling frequency, it was their calling frequency, you know, just let that one go. You know, so there was some really good mentoring going on right there. I mean, I sat and I was exhausted. I was trying to sleep, actually, Jeff. But it was just kind of funny as the sitting back there behind in the third seat, the jump seat of the aircraft, basically. And I was sitting there, and you'd hear them say, "What? Did you say 19A?" "Oh yeah, 19A," and they'd hear, "Really, 19A?" So, anyways, it's kind of fun just being in the back seat if you could. Now, Mike can explain to you this gal a little bit.
Okay. All right. So the picture on the lower left, what it was, this was actually the very end of field day. So this was right around noon on Sunday. What happened earlier that late morning is we had a cloud burst come overhead and thunder. So we all closed up the tents, went up to the pavilion, waited it out. That was a good time there. Then the clouds broke. And so Greg asked, all right, who's going to go back out and finish on their stations and operate? If you're done for the day, you only had about an hour and a half left, something like that. We'll help you, you know, who are you? We'll help you start picking up your stations. And I said, well, I'm definitely going to go out and run because 15 meters was open, and I'm going to go back out. And Elise, this woman here, I don't know who, did she know a club member or?
I don't know.
In any event.
Recently licensed.
What's that?
She's recently licensed.
Right.
Just recently licensed.
Recently licensed. So anyway, so she's out there. She says, well, I want it because I want to operate.
Yeah, she says, no, you can't shut down. She says, I want to operate. And I said, okay, who wants to have their station up?
So I said, she says, well, I do too. That's what I want to hear. I said, well, at least you're coming with me. It's we're going to 15 meters. You're going to operate until 1 o'clock. So I sit down there. Does anybody know Guy West?
Yeah.
Okay. So you can see around us, and that picture in the lower left, it looks really vacant around us because what was happening was, what was in the background right beyond that generator was the 400-meter phone station. Well, that's already been completely torn down. So by this point in time, we had a